Court is now session. Lawfully presiding. Please be seated.
All right, good morning, everybody. We've got the defendants, all represented by counsel, and we are on. Let me just say, before we get started, I do want to recognize how quiet it is in the rest of the courthouse. It is Veterans Day. I indicated to the jury yesterday that if any of them had someplace in particular they needed to be, to send me a note. I didn't get any notes out, but I don't think that is a comment on how important the day is to many people. Our veterans is, well, let me say it this way. Chatham County, Savannah is a military town. We've got significant base there at Hunter, and Stewart's close by. I have a great deal of respect for veterans and what they have done in order to make even a process like this possible. And I do want to just take a moment to recognize the fact that it is Veterans Day, how important it is to this country that we have members of our community who are willing to serve and who have served and have made sacrifices. So I just want to make sure that everybody is clear on where I stand. Normally we would be closed, but with the case that we have before the court and all the various things that are going on and managing it, I just felt that we needed to keep moving forward today. So with that, anything from the state before we get started?
No, Your Honor, just this morning's witness will be very English via deposition, and I didn't know how the court wished to inform the jury that we were doing it that way. If Mr. Camarillo just needs to announce it, that this is via deposition that was previously recorded. The recording actually has the date on it from September on the bottom of it, so they'll understand when it was actually recorded. I didn't know if there was direction from the court for...
I mean, I'm happy to let them know that it's the testimony will be presented by deposition, and that testimony should be considered just as any other testimony in this case. I'm assuming there's no objection to just at least explaining what we're doing in that way.
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, but we do have another matter or two to bring up at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Judge. That's all I'll say.
All right. I guess while we're on the topic, the transcript language, maybe what I'll also do is when I'm just explaining that we're going to do this by deposition, and it holds the same weight as testimony, that there's also going to be two.
Actually, Your Honor, having reviewed the number of 911 calls, there's going to be 7 transcripts for 7 different 911 calls, and the state will tender those exhibits, the transcripts for the record prior to that. We have the stipulation, then I was going to tender like 149A, 150A. I've already discussed this with the defense for the record, and then, of course, probably have you inform them. There will be these transcripts that will go back with them.
And I would go on strike.
I'm just thinking this through. So you're going to tender the transcripts before the video gets played, or are you planning to do it as the video? How are we doing this?
Before the video gets played, because in order to make this sort of seamless, Mr. Camarillo will stop it before the 911 call is played. They'll receive the transcripts, and then we'll play it, then we'll pick all the transcripts up, and that way they're already in via the record prior to the deposition.
Okay, and that satisfies the question I had, because I was concerned if we give them all the transcripts, they're going to be reading ahead, and it's going to be distracting. Okay. All right, I think I understand that.
Yeah, we're just tendering them in, and then as the day goes on, as each one's played, it's given to them and picked back up.
7 transcripts.
7 different 911 calls.
Okay. Okay, I understand that. Let me just work through the language I have then on that. All right, anything from Travis McMichael?
No, Your Honor.
From Greg McMichael?
One housekeeping issue. Your Honor, your name plate is in a direct line where we have a little more trouble seeing.
You know, I don't have any problem taking down my nameplate. I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
Stick it right there.
We just put it right here, Your Honor. That's okay.
Do a formal name change. Just file your petition.
Thank you, Your Honor. And besides that, nothing from us.
Mr. Goff.
Your Honor, 3, I think I'm counting correctly. 1 issue, we renew our objection for service for the record to proceeding on Veterans Day. In this case, we maintain that under the Establishment Clause of the United States Constitution, any distinction under OCGA 141 between Sunday and federal holidays would be unconstitutional in this context. We would note, as this court has noted in the related context of compelling jurors to serve during COVID, compelling jurors to serve on this federal holiday, we would contend is a violation of the jurors' rights. Whether they have formally filed objections or not, we don't know whether they know. They can tell the court if they have an issue, like if they have daycare, but it takes on a different kind of context. We maintain that it is illegal. And in saying that, let me be clear. I'm not suggesting that this court doesn't value our veterans or value Veterans Day. We know how important that is to the court. But still, for preserving our objection, we contend that this is a notwithstanding the 1888 Supreme Court case that would be contrary to that this is not a judicial day when court can conduct business, and more specifically, this is a federal holiday on which the court cannot compel jurors to appear and for jurors to serve, however willing they might be to do that. That was 1 issue. I think the court's already addressed it, but I can sit down if the court feels compelled to address it again.
I believe I've already addressed that. We're here.
We are indeed. The second issue, Your Honor, is my understanding is we're going to be taking up Special Agent Secret's statements or testimony later today. I may misunderstand.
The deposition is 4 hours with breaks. The state anticipates a 2:30 wrapping up of Larry English, and Officer Rash would be the next witness. I do not believe we will get beyond Officer Rash today into a special agency test.
Okay. I could provide the information to the court. Because the court's going to be listening to a deposition for 4 hours, the court's respectfully already heard. I wanted to bring some matters to the court's attention, anticipating Agent Secrets might testify tomorrow. Your Honor, there's an issue there with respect to the voluntariness of the statement made by Mr. Bryan. Statements in 511 and 513 to Officer Secret. Those were alluded to generally during the Jackson v. Denham hearing in this case. And much to my embarrassment, we did not follow up and actually file a brief on that subject. But I would like to apprise the court of 3 cases that
I'm actually going to object at this point in time. Your Honor, we did have a Jackson Denham hearing on this matter. At that point in time, Mr. Goff was given a number of days to file his brief so that the state could file their brief in response to that. He is not ineffective because he and I spoke, and he said, I'm not going to pursue this issue. And he didn't pursue this issue. And now, in the midst of trial, he's bringing it up again. He's not ineffective. This is strategy. This is strategic. And the state objects to it because he did have his opportunity. We had an entire hearing, and he abandoned this knowingly and intelligently as part of his strategy. To bring it up now, of course, is additional strategy, and we ask that you not indulge him in this at this time.
If I may, Your Honor. We are now in trial. It doesn't matter what the court's ruling pre-trial is on the voluntariness of defendant's statements, because the jury independently during the trial must determine whether those statements are voluntary or not. Mr. Bryan is entitled as a matter of law to a charge on the admissibility of the statement. Even if he didn't, I believe co-counsel is going to be insisting on that charge. I'm maybe presuming, but there's a pattern charge on this subject. So,
I mean, the issue's out there, so I mean, the jury's going to be charged on it.
okay. So what I'm advising the court of is I think there are several cases that the court may wish to bear in mind as it relates to the examination of Agent Secrets, both by the state and by the defense in this case, which obviously is going to be somewhat different than what the court's heard before. And it's going to impact the court's rulings. So if I may indulge the court with 3 citations.
Go ahead.
I've never known the court not to want to hear law. Griffin v. Strong, United States Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, 1993. 983 F. 2nd 1540. State v. Sanders, Supreme Court of New Mexico, 2000. 129 NM 728 or 13 P3D 460.
Mr. Goff, please slow down and repeat that.
I'm so sorry. State v. Sanders, Sanders, Supreme Court of New Mexico, 2000. 129 capital N period 728. Also reported at 13, P is in Pacific, 13 P3D 460. Last but not least, a case I'm sure the court is familiar with, Arizona v. Fulminante, Supreme Court of the United States, 499 U.S. 279, 1990. Whether threats by third parties are relevant to the jury's consideration as to the voluntariness of defendant statements is a legitimate issue that the court will have to address. We also have the question as to whether these are truly entirely third-party threats or whether the state, whether the Georgia Bureau of Investigation fanned those flames on and prior to May 13th with their press releases. Certainly, the court might find a way to say that third-party threats are somehow not relevant, but to the extent that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation fanned the flames in this case with its press releases by former Cobb County District Attorney Dick Reynolds, then they're not necessarily third-party threats to the extent that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation aided and abetted the media storm surrounding Mr. Roddy Bryan prior to May 11th and prior to his statements on May 13th. Brings up a related issue, and I just want to make sure it's clear on the record. I filed lots of Brady motions in this case. I just want to make it clear. Our contention is under Brady v. Maryland that if there's any evidence in the possession of the state, that's not just the Cobb County District Attorney's Office. That includes the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. That includes the Attorney General's Office. That includes the Governor's Office. If there's any evidence out there that would suggest that the GBI played any role in fanning the media frenzy, fanning the flames in this case against Mr. Bryan in the days of and before the statements given to him by him to Agent Seacrest, then that is exculpatory information within the meaning of the Due Process Clause of the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution as incorporated by the 14th, and under Article 1, Section 1, Paragraph 1 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia. Whether Brady itself says that or not, we contend that is a good faith extension, not only of Brady, but of the Fifth Amendment authority upon which Brady is based. So we contend that all that information would be relevant. And to be fair to the state, this is not the kind of issue that comes up every day. Certainly before they begin their examination of the witnesses, I didn't want this to come up in the middle of it and have the jury shuttling in and shuttling out throughout that statement. Third issue, polygraph results. The state filed a motion prior to trial to prohibit any reference to polygraph results, or I think by extension the polygraph examination itself. It was suggested at a prior hearing that the issue with respect to the admissibility of Roddy Bryan's statements was whether there was a quote-unquote deal in this case that he wouldn't be prosecuted. The problem is that when Agent Seacrest starts talking about what's going on behind the scenes, Mr. Bryan passed a polygraph examination that Agent Seacrest was notified of on the morning of May 13th. And that informs a variety of issues in this case, including if the state were to assert, as I believe they have in the past, that there was a change in Mr. Bryan's demeanor from the 11th to the 13th in his statements. That would be explained by the fact that he had just provided a polygraph result confirming most of the facts that we have elicited during the trial, such that he was unarmed, such that he was not in communication with the McMichaels. In the previous hearing, I think that going back through the transcript this morning at 4 a.m., the court might not be aware that there was an issue with respect to the release of the polygraph results, which in this case Mr. Bryan had on May 13th and had media trucks all around, and withheld that information for 5 or 6 days, waiting for the GBI to release it. And I think that it's important that the court understand that background when we start getting into the examination of agent secrets, because if the state isn't careful, they're going to open up some doors that perhaps they didn't intend to. And I didn't want the court to feel like you were getting ambushed, might not be the word for it, but surprised, because the tenor of the examination of agent secrets at trial could be substantially different than what took place in the Jackson v. Deno hearing. I have nothing more.
From the state? I'm not sure there's a motion out there because we've already litigated the polygraph issue. As far as these cases, I haven't had an opportunity to look at the cases. So I'm not sure, but I'll give the state an opportunity.
Yes, we've already litigated the polygraph issue. The law is very firm on it. Polygraphs do not come in the state of Georgia. They only come in if the defense and the state agree and the state does not agree. With regard to Agent Seacrest, I believe what Mr. Goff is talking about is threats by third parties, and his complaint is that the GBI played any role in fanning the flames. So while those are convenient words, there isn't anything concrete there, meaning there's been no proffer that anyone from the GBI did anything, and I'm not sure what fanning the flames mean. What flames? What are we talking about? News media, news coverage, Mr. Bryan's statements? So once again, GBI, any role in fanning the flames is not a legal argument. And I don't even know what he's requesting for Brady versus Maryland, because as we all know, Mr. Goff was present when his client gave his statements. He was represented by counsel who was sitting right next to him during this entire interview, all the interviews with Agent Seacrest. Agent Seacrest had been in contact with Mr. Goff before, during, and after all of these interviews. So this assertion that somehow Mr. Bryan and his statements were, his demeanor changed because of outside influences that have absolutely nothing to do with the state, nothing to do with Agent Seacrest, and the fact that he was represented by counsel, this appears to be a very empty motion, and there's nothing really at this time that the state can respond to. The state also has not had a chance to look at these cases, so I ask that this be deferred. And actually, I don't even know what he's motioning for.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I think this is more directory than anything else. But maybe it didn't come up in the context of the polygraph, but at some point in, I've got to think through this, in the pretrial, in the motion practice pretrial, the issue of what was surrounding Mr. Bryan's statement had come up. Was that not in the polygraph? Or was, I'm sorry, not in the discussion about the voluntariness of the statement that we're discussing?
Correct. It was during the Jackson Deno hearing.
The
So
reason
these are just some additional cases on that point.
The reason I raise it is because we're under no obligation. We're under no obligation to put the state on notice of anything, but we do have an obligation as officers of the court to keep the court advised as best we can. And I'm simply letting the court know that this issue during the trial could play out very differently than it did during the pretrial Jackson v. Deno hearing, and I didn't want the court to be surprised.
I understand. Thank you. All right, let me just go through this transcript charge and tailor it. I've just incorporated the prefatory language about the deposition into the charge transcript. So what I'm going to let them know is at this time you're going to watch a recorded deposition. This is proper evidence for you to consider. During the deposition, some 911 calls will be played. I'm going to allow you to have a transcript of the recordings, and then I go into the charge itself that I read yesterday. So I'll go ahead and address it that way.
Your Honor, there's also a stipulation that's going to come in prior to the deposition, and the only thing I'd like to make sure we hash out is that the stipulation is something we all agree are the accurate dates of those 911 calls. And I know when you tell the jury, if you hear anything different, it's up to you to decide between a transcript and what you're hearing. But we want the jury to know that what the accurate dates of those 911 calls and the videos, the security cam videos that will be played during the English deposition, the accurate dates are what is on the stipulation. As the court may recall, Mr. English was understandably very squishy on remembering the dates, and that's why we agreed on the stipulation. So I just don't want those two issues to morph.
We join.
So you're entering into a stipulation on the dates of the 911 calls, dates and
It's
times?
very clear in the stipulation that we're,
Maybe I need to see it.
yes, and we've all signed it. It is going to be State's Exhibit 411. And I will hand you a copy. It is the fourth part of the stipulation there.
I believe it should be a joint exhibit, or a court exhibit, rather than a state's exhibit.
We join.
It's probably a court's exhibit.
That'd be fine.
Yeah, like we're on 3.
I'll relabel the concept.
3. Yeah, B court's 3. So at this point, is this being tendered in, the stipulation?
Yes, and I was going to read it to them this morning and tender it.
Okay. I understand there's no objection. It's a joint stipulation. Court's 3 is in.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Okay. So they're going to be coming out. I understand we'll announce the stipulation. I'll go ahead and give them the transcript charge and then also indicate that the parties are stipulating that within the stipulation that these recordings occurred on certain dates, and just remind them of what a stipulation is. Okay. Okay, I think we're ready? Okay, let's go get the panel.
Good morning. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Glad everybody was back on a timely basis. We are ready to get started with the evidence in the case. Before we do so, I'm just going to explain a little bit of what we're going to be doing for the first part of the day. At this time, you are going to be watching a recorded deposition. This is proper evidence for you to consider. Now, during this deposition, some 911 calls will be played. You will be allowed to have a transcript of the recordings to help you identify speakers and as a guide to help you listen to the calls. If you believe at any point that the transcript says something different from what you hear in the recording, remember that it is the recording that is the evidence. It is not the transcript. At any time that there is a variation between the recording and the transcript, you must be guided solely by what you hear on the recording and not what you see in the transcript. Now, I do ask as we do this that you not read ahead in a transcript as we move through the recording itself. Now, there's going to be a stipulation which is going to be entered by the parties. And part of that stipulation is that the recordings occurred on certain dates. Again, a stipulation is an agreement between the parties as to some fact or fact, which you as the jury are bound to accept as facts during your deliberations. You may give whatever weight you wish to those facts. So with those instructions, I believe we're going to enter the stipulation.
Yes, Judge. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Court's Exhibit 3, Stipulation of the Parties. The parties stipulate to the following evidence. Caitlin Nguela of ROCIC in Tennessee attempted to enhance the audio on the 911 call made by Greg McMichael and attempted to enhance the audio on the cell phone video taken by William Bryan without any noticeable results. Caitlin Nguela of ROCIC in Tennessee did enhance the cell phone video taken by William Bryan and produced 2 exhibits. Both the state and the defendant stipulate to the authenticity and admission of State's Exhibit 129 containing the 2 digital files labeled stabilized _IMG _ 5617 and stabilized _ color safe levels _ IMG _ 561. The parties stipulate to the following evidence. Matthew Heath, digital forensic investigator with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, produced the following exhibits per the request of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation team and provided these exhibits to GBI Special Agent Lawrence Kelly. State's Exhibit 314, folder of 1,095 frame-by-frame photos of cell phone video taken by William Bryan. State's Exhibit 191, half-speed video of the cell phone video taken by William Bryan. State's Exhibits 221, 222, 223, and 224 contain 4 files that combine the videos from 220 Satilla Drive, 119 Satilla Drive, and 224 Satilla Drive that solely show Ahmaud Arbery's path on February 23, 2020. The parties stipulate that, back up, the state and the defense stipulate to the following dates for the videos provided to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation by Mr. Larry English. State's Exhibit 117 are the videos from 220 Satilla Drive recorded on February 11th, 2020. State's Exhibit 120, videos from 220 Satilla Drive recorded on February 23rd, 2020. State's Exhibit 121, 220 Satilla Drive video recorded on October 25th of 2019. States Exhibit 122, 220 Satilla Drive video recorded on November 17th, 2019. States Exhibit 123, 220 Satilla Drive video recorded on November 18th, 2019. States Exhibit 124, 220 Satilla Drive video recorded on December 17th, 2019. And then States Exhibit 125, a 220 Satilla Drive video. This was emailed to Georgia Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Seacrest on May 22nd of 2020. However, the date the video was taken is unknown. That completes the stipulation of the parties, Court's Exhibit number 3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. In addition, at this time, the state is going to tender into evidence in relationship to the 911 calls that were tendered in last night with Kara Richardson. States Exhibit 149A, 150A, 153A, 154A, 155A, 157A, and 159A, which are the transcripts that relate to those 911 calls, and they're being placed into the record. They will not go out for deliberations, but they are the transcripts that the jury will be able to review during the 911 calls. So they're placed in the record. Is that correct, counsel?
That's correct.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Those are admitted for that purpose.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Stay ready with the deposition testimony.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's just go ahead and make sure we're clear on who the witness is, and we can move forward.
Yes, Judge. If I may move my chair, because I'll be up
Yes.
here for a while. The witness in this case is Larry English. And the deposition took place on September 24th of 2021 here in this courtroom.
They call Larry English.
Go ahead and swear with us.
Stand up, face the clerk. Raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give to the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Please take your seat. Good morning, Mr. English. Can you hear me okay? Yes, sir. Okay, I know it's hard to see who everybody is with masks on, but my name is Paul Camarillo. I'm with the state. You and I have had a conversation before, is that correct, through Zoom? Yes. Okay. All right, Mr. English, will you go ahead and state and spell your name for the record, please?
Larry Boyd English, Jr., Larry, Hoyt, Englishjr.
Okay, thank you for being here today, sir. Today what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about your background. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about your property at 220 Satilla Shores. We're going to talk about some of the relationships you may have with parties in that neighborhood. And then we're also going to talk about some events that occurred back in 2019 and 2020 relating to your property and some of your relationships, okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's go ahead and start with your background. So where do you work? Like, what's your occupation? If you do have a job, what is your job? And what's your general occupation?
My former occupation was a general contractor and a commercial beekeeper.
And how long were you a contractor, sir?
I'm 21 years old until 12, 15 years ago.
Okay. And sir, where is your general residence where you and your family live?
Coffee County.
Coffee County?
Yes.
Okay. And you have a secondary residence, sir?
Well, we're working on a place here in Brunswick, yes.
Okay. And where is that? What's the address there?
220 Satilla Drive.
Sir, do you have any children?
Yes.
And what are their ages?
13 and 17.
And are you married, sir?
Married? Yes,
For how long?
25 years.
And how old are you?
51.
Let's go ahead and talk about your property at 220 Satilla Shores. Okay, is that here in Glenn County?
Yes.
And can you go ahead and tell me the background and how you came about obtaining this property?
Some 5 years ago, I was diagnosed 6 or 7 years ago with an incurable disease called sarcoidosis that attacks all your vital organs. And at that time, instead of waiting until I was retired, I had to fast forward my dreams, and me and the wife would get out and ride. I've had a couple of places down here in Camden County, and love to fish. I love the coast, and my dream was to have a place on the water and be able to go fishing and enjoy it and be convenient. So we kept riding, and we finally found this vacant lot that we thought we could afford to build a house on that would be able to do for it. So we acquired the lot, and I hired a general contractor down here to do a turnkey job on it. And by the time we had got it dried in, we decided that I would try to finish it myself under some other circumstances that brought about the situation. So I started trying to finish it myself, and it prolonged the progression of it. But anyway, during that time, I had a couple, 2 or 3 bad health situations that gave me some setbacks, and it prolonged it. And we was an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and ended up trying to, keep an eye on things, what was going on, and that's where we ended up with the camera, surveillance camera, and see what was going on and take care of it.
Okay. About what year did you acquire it?
4 or 5 years ago, I'm not sure.
Okay. And in 2019, can you describe the state of completion of your residence?
In 19,
Yeah, around 2019, going into 2000 and early 2020.
I'm guessing somewhere along there, we was just under progress getting the foundation forward, and might have been some framing work going on at that point, I'm not sure.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a picture up on the screen, sir, okay? And this is a still shot taken roughly in May of 2020, okay? And I want you to look at it and tell me if this is the general state of completion of your house at 220 Judge Road.
Yeah.
Mr. English, what I have on the screen for you is State Exhibit 126. Are you able to see that?
Yes,
And could you tell us what that is?
that's my home under construction at 220 Satilla Drive.
And does that look as to the level of completion that it was maybe in February for early 2020? Can you take a look at that and tell us?
It looks like the walls of the garage have been encapsulated in plywood since the day of, I don't know what date you're talking about, but since the day of Ahmaud's shoot. There's been more work done to it in this photo.
In this photo? Okay. What's some of the differences besides the plywood? What about the garage doors?
There's no garage doors on the front. The 2 large garage doors are not on the front, which are what?
And that's similar to what it was in February 23rd for earlier that
From
year?
elevation, it looks pretty much the same. The difference is the walls have been plywooded on the inside of the garage that separates the interior of the house from the exterior of the garage.
Okay. And what about the front yard?
I think it's the same.
And so that seems to be a true and accurate representation of your house, maybe in May or roughly thereof in 2020?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time the state tender states 126 in the evidence.
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
Mr. English, Is this your property at 220 Satilla Drive?
Yes.
Okay. And at any point during the construction of your home, did you have any sort of fencing around either the house or the property line itself?
No.
Okay. What about your neighbors? Did they have any fencing going up?
There's a fence on the right and the left side, from, say, approximately the middle to the back of my home,
Mm-hmm.
to the back of the property.
And if we're looking at this photograph, states 126, to the left or to the right of this photograph?
The left and the right.
Okay.
Has a fence going across the back.
All right. But nothing encapsulating the property itself?
No.
Okay. And at any point up till this photograph, did you have any signs like no trespassing signs or keep off the property or anything like that?
No.
Did this construction site at around this time and before this, did it have any sort of plumbing or water source or electricity or anything like that?
Yes. At this point, there was a temporary faucet to the right of that porta potty. And then at the back of the property, there's a dock and a boat hoist that had a faucet back there also on the upland part of it, not down at the dock, but on the upland part before you walk down to the dock.
And then what about electricity?
No, just a temporary service pole on the left corner of the property that you can't see in this photo.
And when you came to do work on this house, because you did say you took over the general contracting job of the house itself, right?
I did.
Do you remember around when you did that?
It would have been when the roof got put on it, it would have been at plywood stage and fell on top of it, no windows, no doors, just plywood on the exterior walls, plywood on the top.
Okay, and was that in 2019 or 20 that you started taking over, roughly?
I couldn't remember.
You couldn't remember? Okay. And when you came down to work on it, where did you stay?
I've got a camper. I've had two different campers in the backyard that you can't see in this photo.
And you had electricity running through those campers?
Yes. They come off the temporary service pole and there's a wire run to the back there that services the boat hoist.
Before y'all constructed this this portion of the house, or this level of construction, when you first bought the property, what was it?
It was just a vacant lot, pretty much what you see, just a grass lot. The neighbors kept it mowed and clean, and there was an old dock there and a little small upland building that had steps that went down to the fixed dock.
And do you know anything about the use of this lot from people in the neighborhood in the past?
What I know about it, the neighbor on the right-hand side, Brad Butler, they had some kind of party once or twice a year, Christmas party or something of that nature. They would use it to park some of the overflow of their party guests. And then the left neighbor, Kenny Wade, would park boat trailers, boats, different stuff of that nature there. And I think maybe the kids might have played over there some.
At some point after you purchased the property and started doing construction on it, did you get worried about liability in any way? About people coming on and off?
Yes, once we constructed a new dock and boat hoist, I don't remember exactly what stage the home was at that point. Probably in the earlier stages. Mr. Wade contacted me and mentioned that he thought he had seen the boys from across the street, maybe over there playing. And that concerned me for a couple of reasons. I mean, more or less for their safety rather than somebody stealing something. Because the water on that outgoing tide is very swift there. It can be very dangerous. So at that point, I got some cameras put up to kind of keep an eye on it.
What type of cameras were these?
They're called Blink. They notify you of cell phone.
Do you remember roughly the year that you started putting these cameras up?
No.
Would it have been before 2020?
Yes.
Now tell me about these cameras. When they first started coming up, where did you first start putting them?
I first started putting them down at the dock area. The best I can recall, there might have been one in the very back of the house, because we had to use a camper as a location to put the module that made the cameras work. And it only worked for so many feet away, so it focused on the dock and maybe one at the rear of the house. I'm not 100% sure. There was 2 stages of cameras. One, the first stage was on the dock and maybe the rear of the house.
And were the cameras themselves hooked up hardwired to anything, or were they battery operated? How did they run?
They're wireless with batteries.
Do you know how often you had to change out the batteries?
About once a year. It depends on how much action you have on it as to how long the batteries last.
And you said that the connection between the cameras and the module, I think you had mentioned you wanted to start with them closer to the module, so if they were further out, would they not connect to the module?
No, they won't. If you get too far away from the module, the cameras won't pick up.
Did the efficiency of these cameras, or how well they worked, did it get adjusted by time of day, internet usage, or anything of that sort that you know of?
Repeat the question, please.
How well the cameras worked? Were they contingent on anything like internet usage or strength of internet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If it was a high usage part of the day, sometimes they wouldn't process as fast.
At some point, did these cameras go up anywhere else on the property?
Yes.
And where was that?
After we got the shell of the house completed, you have to have a 110 power source for a module. After we got the structure of the house, then I had a job trailer that's a 20-foot cargo trailer that was parked next to the temporary service pole in the front yard. And from that temporary service pole, I run a 110 wire into the side of it, and we got what they call a hotspot that gives me Wi-Fi service, and we put the second set of cameras at that point. And that was on the fronts of the house. I had 3 or 4 cameras on the front of the house, and one inside the living room and one inside the garage.
How many cameras in total did you have?
I think the second package was a 5 package setup, 4 or 5. The first one maybe 3. I'm not 100% sure. But on the house, there was 2 on the back, 2 on the front, a couple inside, and then we had 2 on the dock.
Once you put up these cameras, were you able to monitor your home?
Yes, for the most part, yes.
And how would you be able to monitor the cameras when you were not physically on the property?
I could look at it, I could pull up on my phone, and I could actually look at it manually at any point in time, or it would give me a notification on my phone if activity was going on the property, it would notify me.
If you got a notification and you looked at the phone, was there any sort of recording that would start, or how did the cameras capture any sort of footage going on at the house?
Well, when I would click on whichever one it was that would notify me, it would start, and there's a time setting on these clips. I can't remember the exact time. I want to think up to 60 seconds, I think. And depending on how many seconds you had it set for is how long the clip would show. But it was started from the beginning when it was triggered until the time ran out that you had set.
And then you were able to save those, maybe download those videos somewhere?
I never saved them or downloaded them. I'm kind of low tech, and I didn't realize, but at some point, once you get so many accumulated, it starts dropping off the oldest ones and recording the newest ones.
At some point, were you able to capture any surveillance or any clips from people walking in and off?
Yes.
And how were you able to do that?
First instance that we had, I was in Douglas about 9 o'clock or so, and it went off, 9 or 10 o'clock, it went off, and it showed me in the middle of the night. That was the first time that we'd ever recorded anything on it.
Okay. And did those clips get recorded to like a cloud or an internet server somewhere?
No, it just stayed saved in my phone.
Okay, so they got saved on your phone?
Yeah. But like I say, they was only saved until numerous ones were collected, and then it would start dropping them off, and I was unaware of that to begin with. I just thought it kept going continuous, but it drops off the older ones after a certain point.
Gotcha. Now, when you had people working on your house during the day, would these cameras get triggered, or were you able to shut them off if people were working? Tell me about that.
I could turn them off manually from a remote location. A lot of times I would remember to do that. A lot of times I wouldn't. Sometimes I would turn them off, and it may be 2 days before I remembered to turn them back on.
And did you notice on these cameras during the daytime any sort of traffic coming and going, maybe in front of your house or around your house, anything like that?
Sometimes it will pick them up at the street, but I tried to position them where the street traffic wouldn't trigger them.
And at some point during the daytime, did you capture anybody coming in and out of your property?
Yes.
And tell me about that.
I can't remember all the situations. I mean, most of the time when I see the subcontractor show up, I know what time it was and they had showed up, and I turn them off. You got not very much daytime footage that I was concerned about.
Sure. Give me some other examples besides the subcontractors of people that would come in and off of your property.
Well, one thing that pops up in my mind was,
Mr. English, what are some other examples of people coming and going on your property during the daytime?
what I was fixing to state before he interrupted was about the kids. That's one of the main things that pops in my mind. If the kids did come over there, they'd get a couple of pieces of plywood. I could see out of the corner of the camera that they was in the street, had a bicycle ramp built out of it, and that's what they were doing with it. It didn't really alarm me. I was glad to see kids out and doing something with plywood instead of on computer games. So the plywood was a scrap piece of plywood, 50 cents a piece, so I didn't ever bring it to anybody's attention. Wasn't alarmed about it. As far as other people, I can't tell you, I can't even remember people in the daytime, other than Mr. Billy Griner. Mr. Billy would go over there and walk his dog every day, and he would walk around my property and kind of look at it and check on it. I mean, that's the only two instances during the daytime that really I can remember.
Okay, that were significant to you in some way. Is that correct?
Well, that's the only thing that really pops into my mind. I mean, there might have been more instances, but it wasn't significant enough to even process it and record it in my mind.
Yes, sir. Here's my approach.
Sure. Mr. English, I'm going to put up on the screen State Exhibit 125. Now, you and I had a Zoom meeting maybe a month or so ago, and we went over the surveillance videos, various surveillance videos that you captured onto your phone and turned over to the police. Is that right?
Right. And some of these recorders, they may have had to subpoena from the camera system.
Sure.
To get them.
Sure.
I can't even remember what I did and didn't.
I understand.
The police.
I understand. But you and I went over some videos, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you and I went over some recordings of your 911 calls to the police. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is put up State's Exhibit 125, and this is the video you and I went over in my resume in my office. State calls very English. Judge, at this time stated, Senator State Exhibit 149, he went over the surveillance videos, various surveillance videos that you captured onto your phone and turned over to the police. Is that right?
Right. And some of these recordings, they may have had to subpoena from the camera system.
Sure.
To get them.
Sure.
I can't even remember what I did and didn't.
I understand.
The police.
I understand. But you and I went over some videos, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you and I went over some recordings of your 911 calls to the police. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do is put up State's Exhibit 125, and this is the video you and I went over in my resume in my office. I'm going to pause it real quick. Do you recognize what this video clip is, State's Exhibit?
Yes, that's the two boys that was getting followed.
Okay. And where is this camera hanging from, sir?
The far left corner of my home in front.
And when we watch this clip and we're playing this clip, is this a true and accurate representation of the surveillance video clip from your house?
You asking me if this is correct?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Judge, at this time, State tenders State's Exhibit 125 as evidence. That's video B. I'm sorry, video A, clip A.
Your Honor, Mr. Bryan, we object to the reasons previously stated.
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor, but did you say this was clip A?
Clip A of State's Exhibit 125. For the record, I'm playing State's Exhibit 125, subsection A. For the trial record, I just played State's Exhibit 125A, resuming the deposition. Commissioner, were you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, is that's true and accurate representation of the clip that you took that day?
Yes.
I'm going to put on the screen State's Exhibit 125, subsection B. For the trial record, I played State's Exhibit 125B. Resuming the deposition at 2422. And is that also from your house?
Yes.
Okay. Same two children? Were those the same two children? As the
Yes.
prior clip?
Yes.
And is this a true and accurate representation of the surveillance video clip taken from your house?
Yes.
Good judge.
Is the microphone turned off? It seemed like when I was in here first, it was on a little louder.
I'm sorry. I'm turning my back to you. I'm gonna see if you can hear me from here. I don't want to get
Yes,
too
that's
low.
better. That's better.
Okay. Is that a true and accurate representation? State
Yes.
Okay. Judge, State now tenders State's Exhibit 125, subsection B, into evidence.
Same objection, Your Honor.
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
And at some point, when you had these cameras up around the construction site, did you have folks come onto your property at nighttime?
Yes.
Okay. One second. All right, Mr. English, I'm going to walk you through some various times that you called 911, okay, and times that you may have saved surveillance clips corresponding to those particular calls, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to start with October 25th of 2019. Do you remember making a 911 call on October 25th of 2019?
Not by date.
You don't remember the date?
No.
Okay. Do you remember making 911 calls sometime around that time of year?
I cannot. Not by date and month.
Not by date. All right, I'm going to play you, to refresh your recollection, a clip from that day and see if you remember making that call on that particular day, okay?
Okay.
That's transcript 1. Let's go ahead and distribute those.
Yes, ma'am. This is Larry English. I'm calling from Douglas, Georgia. And I have a house that we're under construction on, and I have a dock down at 220 Cecilia Drive. That's Cecilia Shores in Brunswick.
Okay.
I got a camera system there, and I've got a trespasser there. So he's a colored guy, got real curly looking hair. He's tattooed down both arms.
You recognize that voice?
Yes.
Okay. And you recognize this as one of the times that you called 911?
Yes, I believe that's the first time.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what's the number?
This is State's Exhibit 149. Judge, at this time, Senator State's Exhibit 149 is evidence.
Objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
Objection.
Mr. English, I'm going to play it through, okay, and I may have some questions for you after, all right?
Okay.
Communications operator, Center, can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. This is Larry English. I'm calling from Douglas, Georgia. And I have a house that we're under construction on, and I have a dock down at 220 Cecilia Drive. That's Cecilia Shores in Brunswick.
Okay.
I got a camera system there, and I've got a trespasser there. So he's a colored guy, got real curly looking hair. He's tattooed down both arms, and he's over there kind of wandering around. I don't know what's going on. I was just wondering if you could send a deputy or somebody out to
check him out for me, please. Hello?
I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. Could you hear me?
Yes. I'm putting all the information in the call. What was your name again?
Larry English.
Mr. English, what's the phone number that you can be reached back at?
912-218-9905.
Okay, and you said it's a black male with tattoos down both arms, and what else?
And he's got real curly looking, not dreadlock, but just kind of curly, messed up looking hair. The way he acts looks like he's maybe drunk or on drugs. And he's wearing shorts, and I think the sleeveless, looking like maybe a t-shirt. We got a lot of tools and equipment, and I have a camper trailer also there, a temporary camper trailer that we stay in, and he's already been down on the dock running around and up on the hill around the house and all.
Okay, and you want an officer to go find out what he's doing and have him removed from the property?
Yes, ma'am, if you would, I would appreciate it.
Did he come in a vehicle or on foot?
No, the camera was only a pickup kind of, they showed him was only in the backyard, back with trucks and tractors and equipment, and I've got a boat hanging on a horse down on the dock, and I didn't see, I don't know if he come up in a vehicle or not, but I called the neighbor next door, but it's just ladies next door, and I told him not to go outside and try to check on it or anything, so I don't know if he's in a vehicle or a bicycle or walking.
And you don't know who it is?
No, ma'am, I've never seen him before. It don't look good, does it?
Okay. And was there any time lapse between the time you saw him and the time you called me?
Just maybe 5 minutes. The camera's been going off since we've been talking. It's got multiple pictures of him.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to have an officer dispatched. If anything changes, or if he leaves or you see anything else, just call us back, okay?
Thank you, ma'am. What was your name again?
You can just call the number that you called and speak to anybody who answers.
Okay, thank you for your help.
You're welcome, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Mr. English. The person you saw in that video, you said you didn't know him.
No,
Okay. You had never met him before?
no,
Okay, never seen him before?
no.
The cameras that you have at your property, are you able to communicate with somebody who's on the property at that time?
No.
And the night that that person was on that camera, was that the first time you saw him, or did you see him prior nights?
That's the first time. The best I can recall, that's the very first time.
And in that call, you used the word plundering around. What do you mean by that?
I'm just looking around, checking things out.
Did you ever see that person take anything that night?
No.
Did you ever see anything in his hands, like a bag or flashlight or any sort of things on him?
No.
I think you said it looked like he may be doing drugs or drinking or was on something like that. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you don't know him, right?
No.
And you didn't know him that night?
No.
So you don't actually know if he was taking or using drugs. Is that correct?
No, what led to that is me and my wife both looked at the video, and when he come back up the ramp from the floating dock down where the water runs with, looked like he was a little bit disoriented. But afterwards, that was a spur of the moment call.
Sure.
Afterwards, I get to thinking about it. When you look at these videos, it looks like there's light shining on it. But in reality, it's dark. Those are infrared recordings. After I get to thinking about it, it could have been dark. Maybe he was kind of feeling his way around rather than staggering. So that's, if that gives you any definition of why that was.
Sure. It just looked like he was maybe uneasy on his feet or something like that?
He was what?
He was uneasy on his
It
feet,
looked
maybe?
like that right at the top of the ramp. I mean, the best I can remember, it kind of looked like he might have been a little bit disoriented with his footing, Okay. And that made me more concerned because it's dangerous, especially in the daytime. It's dangerous because there's no rails around the floating dock. But at night, you're in a location where you're not familiar with it, makes it even more dangerous.
Okay. And you said the camera was only showing him in the back. Do you know why only that camera was able to pick him up?
No.
Mr. English, I'm going to show you a video clip from your surveillance camera. And this is State's Exhibit 121. State's Exhibit 121. It's a video you and I watched on Zoom together.
Judge, I'm going to object to the commentary that goes along with showing the exhibit.
Let's just go ahead and show the exhibit. You need to refresh his recollection.
Sure, Judge. Mr. English, do you recognize, I paused it. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Okay. And what is this a clip of?
It looks like the clip where the gentleman's starting to go down the ramp.
Now this looks to be about a 45-second clip. And is this what you were talking about, how it would only capture a certain amount of time?
Yes.
Okay. And is this a true and accurate representation of your camera?
Do what now?
Is this a true and accurate representation of the clip your camera caught?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, State moves to tender State's Exhibit 120. 121.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Submitted. For the record, I'm playing State's Exhibit 121. Trial record, I'm playing the same exhibit through for the jury.
Excuse me, 121.
121.
Mr. English, can you see the mouse moving on my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm putting the mouse on what looks like some piece of metal. Can you tell us what this is?
That's a 3-foot wide aluminum walkway. It's pretty much identical to the walkway that the gentleman in the photo went down.
Okay, so there's a walkway going up, and what direction is this going up if we're looking up to the top of the screen?
That's the upland to the very back of my property.
And you said that's an identical piece that was going down to the bottom left part of the screen as well?
Correct.
And where does the ramp on the bottom left part of the screen lead to?
It leads down to like approximately 10 foot by 20 foot floating dock.
A floating dock?
Yes.
Are there any rails or anything keeping people from falling off there?
No.
For the record, I'm putting the mouse on now a dark object, maybe a black object on the middle right of the screen. What is this, sir?
That's a black plastic toolbox.
Okay. And what's
Storage
inside?
box, toolbox storage box.
And what's inside of it?
I'm thinking maybe some water hoses and fillet knives and maybe some ropes to tie the boat with, maybe fire extinguisher.
Do you remember at all what's on this part that I'm the screen? Looks to be a table of some sort.
That's a couple of chairs with boards laid over them where the wind was blowing off.
And what about this white box shape?
And that's just a cheap pool.
And I'm putting my mouse onto the right side of the screen now. What is this?
That's my boat.
Okay. How many boats do you have?
At that time, I think I had 3, 4.
And on this property, how many boats did you have down here at this time?
At that time, just that boat. There might have been a small boat tied up in the water on the float dock, but I don't remember.
Okay.
It's been tied up and taken out multiple times.
And from your recollection, was anything taken or messed with in any way during the interaction with this person on this dock?
No.
For the record, I just played through State Super 121. Mr. English, how would one get on from this part of the dock onto your boat here?
The bottom right corner of the screen, there's an opening in the handrail,
Okay.
and you can step over into a approximately 10-foot wide aluminum plank that accesses the boat.
And the clip doesn't show Mr. Arbery coming back up or back into the property at all, is that right?
Not that I remember.
Okay, do you remember at all where he went after that?
Not that I recall.
And Mr. English, you called 911 based on him being there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you want to happen to that person?
I wanted to, hopefully, the victim would find him and talk to him, maybe tell him not to be there anymore.
Because you didn't want him on your property, right?
No.
And did you save this clip to your phone, or was it saved to your phone in some way?
It was probably saved for X amount of days. How many, I don't know. And maybe eventually it was sent to the camera company or something. I don't know how that works.
Okay. Do you remember speaking with any police officers after the 911 call that night?
Well, I know I talked to them later. I can't 100% remember who it was that certain night.
Okay. And did you end up sending this clip to the police that night?
I can't recall. I don't know.
Mr. English, I'm going to put up on the screen State's Exhibit 122. And I'm going to ask if you recognize what it is, okay, sir?
Okay.
State's Exhibit 122A, we'll start with. And sir, do you recognize...
For the record, renewing my previous objection.
So,
Mr. English, do you recognize what this is a clip of?
I do.
Okay, what is it a clip of?
That's of the white male and female that came onto the property in the night.
And I'm going to play it through in full for you.
For the trial record, I'm playing State's Exhibit 122A for the jurors.
For the record, I submit State's Exhibit 122A. And Mr. English, is that a true and accurate copy of the clip that your camera took that night?
Could you repeat that?
Is that a true and accurate copy of the clip that your camera took that night?
2.5. What now?
A true and accurate?
Oh, yes.
Judge, at this time, State moves to tender State's Exhibit 122A into evidence.
Question is, do we have a date for this?
11/17/19.
Well, I understand that's.
I will. Mr. English, do you remember what day this was taken?
I do not.
Okay. Do you remember roughly what time of year it was taken?
No.
But it is a clip from your video camera taken from your house, is that correct?
Yes.
The State moves to tender State's 122A into evidence.
No objection. Renew the previous objection. 401, 403.
No objection, Your Honor.
I submit.
Your Honor, put another clip on. This is State's Exhibit 122B. I'm going to ask if you recognize it.
Yes.
And how do you recognize that, sir?
I can tell by the black tarp on the dirt. That's the camera showing the drive, where my drive will go in the garage.
For the record, I'm pointing through State's Exhibit 122B.
For the trial record, I have up State's 122B, and I'll be playing it for the jurors.
Sir, is that a true and accurate copy of the clip that your surveillance camera took?
Yes.
Do you remember what date or time that clip was taken?
No.
Do you remember roughly what time of year or month?
No.
This time, State moves to send the case exhibit 122B into evidence.
No objection.
No objection as before.
Good.
So I'm going to play. Do you remember calling the police when you saw that video?
Do what?
Do you remember calling the police when you saw that video?
I think I did. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I did.
If I play you a clip of the 911 call, a 911 call of that night, would you fresh recollection?
Yes.
For the record, I'm going to play State's Exhibit 153A.
Brunswick Communications, operator 90.
Yes, sir. I need to report somebody's on a piece of property at 220 Cecilia Drive in Brunswick.
220 Cecilia Drive?
Yes, we've had some issues with Officer Rash. I think he's on vacation. There's somebody there now. I can't resist.
Just to make clear.
That was just the preparatory. It was. It'll pass.
A couple lawyers out.
I would require time frame for morning break.
Since we have handed these out, let's go ahead and get through this 911 call, and then we'll take a morning break. You can get.
Some dude went off and showed a male and a female, white female couple there that went up under the garage.
Does that refresh your recollection that you called the police that night for that couple?
Yes.
Okay, so you remember making that call?
Yes.
And is that your voice, sir?
Yes.
And you believe that to be a true and accurate representation of your voice in the 911 call?
Yes.
So at this time, State moves to place State's Exhibit 153A into evidence.
Objection. Same objection.
Good.
Now I'm going to continue playing State's Exhibit 153A.
We had some stuff stolen about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago there.
Okay, all right, sir. And what is your phone number?
912-218-9905.
Okay. And what's your name, sir?
Larry English.
Gary English?
Larry with a L.
Oh, okay, yeah, there's something about that. All right. And they're there now?
Well, it's just been a few minutes ago. I'm guessing that my camera shows them going under the garage, and that's the location where the stuff was sold last time. The camera hadn't went back off, so I don't think they went out the back or they come out from up under the garage. I don't know exactly where they're at right now.
Okay. All right, sir.
I think the guy had a baseball cap, looked like he had a baseball cap on, and I think it was maybe not female.
All right, do you know any more about what the white male was wearing besides baseball cap?
No, but I can, it kind of looked like maybe he had a belt or something on that wasn't buckled. I couldn't tell exactly what it was. It looked like a black strap or something on his waist, and my camera's just black and white, so I don't know exactly what color the clothes was.
Okay,
He's kind of a slender male, and he was, I'm guessing maybe he's in the neighborhood of 6 foot tall, and the lady was a little bit shorter.
Okay. All right, sir. Were you able to see what the white female was wearing?
No, not really. I got a video
door?
Well, there's not a garage door there now, it's under construction. So the camera shows that anybody walks into the garage area, walking into the house, and it shows them walking into the large garage doors.
So it's like, is the garage raised up or something? I'm trying to understand.
It's just open where there should be an electric garage door, but the garage door hasn't been installed yet.
Okay.
That's opening that they went through. It's on the front of the house, facing the street.
Okay, so it just has no door that's went inside?
Right.
Okay. And you don't know if they're still there or not?
I'm kind of thinking they're still there because the cameras usually will go off if they come back out. The camera will went off again, showing that they had exited. So I don't know if they're going into the state tonight or what's going on. It went off 2 times. One time when they was out at the edge of the road coming towards the garage, and one time as they was going into the garage. But it has them now showing that they exited the back of the house or the front. I got cameras on the back. If they went out the back, it probably would have went off showing them in the back. But it hasn't showed you where they left yet, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, were you able to see were you able to see like any hair or any tattoos on either person?
No, not yet. As soon as I seen the video, I went ahead and called to get somebody on the way as soon as possible.
Okay.
If you would give me my phone number, I'll be looking at the video to see if I can give you some more details.
Okay. So you want contact by phone?
Yeah, if they want to give me a call, just tell him to call me.
Okay, so
I'll forward this video to his phone.
Okay, so whenever they call you, it's going to come in as a blocked or restricted number, so just be prepared to answer that, okay?
I will. Is somebody else in route?
Yes, sir, we have officers in route, okay?
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I'll be listening for the call, and I appreciate it.
Okay, yes, sir. If anything else happens, give us a call back, okay? And
We'll need that for just any operators.
yes, sir, yes, just give us a call back. We'll be able to advise you. And whenever you saw them, were you able to see if they had any weapons or anything like that?
No, I'm going to think that maybe they had a bag or something, you know, they kind of look, I don't know, maybe they homeless or something, I don't know for sure, but it looked like they might have some kind of bag or something with them, I'm not sure. As soon as I saw the video, I said, I got to call you as quick as possible, and I didn't look at it.
I understand, sir. Okay, so you believe they are still in the garage, though?
I think they're still on the premises, yeah.
Okay.
We have a camper in the backyard, a camper type trailer in the backyard. I don't know, it's just, I don't know exactly what's going on.
Okay, sir. All right, sir. Like I said, we have officers actually have arrived, okay? So, give us a call back if you see anything else, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do as we collect these, we're going to go ahead and take a 15-minute recess and continue on. If you could just make sure that you give the deputy your transcripts as you walk out. And again, do not discuss the case amongst yourselves. During the break, we'll bring you back out for a continuation of the evidence.
All right, for sure.